Hello and warm greetings. Welcome to Analyst presented to you by Vajiram and Ravi. Here we discuss 7 articles in 2 different sections taken from The Hindu and Indian Express newspaper, consolidating your current affair preparation for UPSC at one place. In the first analysis section, we'll discuss pre-censorship, what they don't want you to see. This comes in the light of recent Supreme Court observation asking government to vet the content for social media before it is posted. Next up, we'll discuss why textile matter more than you think. This comes in the light of recent announcement of a new scheme for the textile sector. We'll take a broad overview of the sector, highlighting the issues and suggestion of way forward. Next, in the simplified section, we'll discuss 5 articles with a lot of value addition for your upcoming prelims 2026 exam. So stay tuned. Coming to the first topic, we have pre-censorship, what they don't want you to see. In the context of Supreme Court observing and asking government to formulate a new autonomous body to regulate social media content, vet the content before it is posted online, has held people concerning. They are arguing that it violates Article 19(1)(a) fundamental right of speech and expression. But then the need for regulating social media is a very timely step that the government is contemplating. Why are we discussing this? What is the need for regulating social media content before it is even posted? Would it not lead to pre-censorship? It may, but then the concerns are very genuine. Why? We have these people who are using their fundamental right of freedom of speech and expression without exercising their duty of responsibility. One may have a YouTube channel, one may have an Instagram account and post whatever they want, but then they would also have to be accountable. They have to be answerable to the society at large. When the kind of content that they post on the social media, it is having irreparable damage that is done to people. We have seen people posting nudity, obscenity, vulgarity on the social media platform without any refrain, without any accountability. And this had a very negative impression on the impressionable mind of children. These people who are young, who are minor, they do not have the sense of discretion. They are not able to decide whether something is right or wrong. But this freely accessible content, which is of this nature of nudity and vulgarity, it has corrupted their mind. It has led to social and individual harm that is irreversible in nature. Imagine the scenario when these people in frame, they were mocking people with PWDs, people with disabilities. On the one hand, we have government who is taking steps to undertake a very attitudinal shift should come with respect to the persons with disabilities. We are starting a campaign where we are not calling them Viklangs, but we are calling them Divyangs. We are not calling them disabled, but calling them differentially able or specially abled. On the other hand, these people are mocking them because they have something called as spinal muscular atrophy, and they mock them just for some views. They are not held accountable. Then even at the beyond the individual level, we have the issue at social level also. The situation may turn grim when these people don't post genuine things, when they don't post factually correct thing, and may even post some fake news. Fake news that may have even an impact on the law and order situation. They have posted, some of them have posted fake news regarding cow smuggling, and these issue of cow smuggling have then snowballed into mob vigilantism that has even led to deaths across states. This issue is thus very concerning, especially given that any taking down request that is given to the social media platform takes at least a 24 hours time, and then it becomes merely a post-mortem exercise, a post-facto exercise. Especially in a nation where we do not have a right to be forgotten, the damage is already done. We have seen this in the case of famous actresses. Their morphed images have been circulated widely on social media. They have gone viral. People have saved them and then transmitted them on their personal groups. But because they do not have right to be forgotten, even if those posts, the original posts were taken down, it has spread like a wildfire. Then we have this dichotomy of rights. While on the one hand we have these people proclaiming the Article 19(1)(a) as the fundamental right of freedom of speech and expression. What about the rights of these people who are very innocent, minor children who do not have this discretion? Are their rights not being violated? If you have the right to speak, I also have the right to whether listen to you or not. But with this feature of virality of social media, I really don't have that consent. The informed consent is not being given. I am just being served content that I did not sign up for. This dichotomy of rights and these issues of irreversible damages had made Supreme Court thinking for creation of a new media regulatory body. Then the current mechanism that we have at hand are falling short of what it was designed to do. At the start of this millennial, we had the creation of IT Act 2000. This social media works on simple principle of user generated content, and these social media platform, whether it is Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, they just wash their hand away by citing that we do not have any say in the kind of content that user posts. They are given the safe harbor by the section 79 of this IT Act that asks them, that gives them freedom if they do not have any say in the content that is posted, if they have not initiated the content themselves, if they have not selected who would be receiving the content, if they are removing the illegal content very quickly whenever government is asking them to. So they are not punished, they are not penalized because they are fulfilling these conditions. We have had major steps taken even after that for ensuring self-regulation of these bodies. For example, we brought this digital media ethics code in the year 2021, where it was asked that this digital media intermediaries, they would take steps to ensure that the content that the users post on their platforms should not be inflammatory, hateful, insightful. These kind of content should not be posted, and that was a guideline that was given to them. Then we have these intermediary guidelines of 2021, which establish some responsibilities on the part of these regulators. They were supposed to appoint grievances officer residing in India whom the authorities can contact in case of any need. They must ensure traceability for some significant platform with a certain degree of users. Then they must support the grievance redressal mechanism for the consumers as well. If they are fulfilling these provisions, then their safe harbor provision were also kept as intact. However, does this change anything for the consumer? It doesn't. Does this change anything for the rights of the common masses, of the minor children? It doesn't. Then what do? We are provided not only right under Article 19(1)(a), which gives the freedom of speech and expression, but also 19 clause 2, which gives some reasonable restrictions can be imposed in right under Article 19(1)(a). What are these restrictions? They have been listed down in the Constitution itself. They include that state might take some step on restricting the free speech if on the grounds of sovereignty and integrity of India, public order, decency, morality, contempt of court, defamation, incitement, friendly relation with the foreign states. These are some of the valid grounds on which action must be taken, and in this order, Supreme Court is mulling creation of a new body to regulate the content even before it is posted. Because as we have seen, if it is going to be removed after 24 hours, it is not serving anything because the damage is already done. Then, but is it the right way to do it? Because what if the cure is even worse than the disease itself? And it seems to be the case. We have attained this freedom of speech and expression, this right of freedom and speech through a lot of struggle. Our whole freedom struggle, starting from the jailing of Bal Gangadhar Tilak, was for the right of press freedom. And as soon as we attained this right under Article 19(1)(a), it was again challenged in the Supreme Court, and there has been a history of evolution of these fundamental rights over the period of time. Starting from the very first Ramesh Thapar case of 1950, it established the birth of press freedom in India. It warned against any sort of pre-censorship. The media must be free to express its opinion. There must not be any state regulation of this. That is what precisely was said in the first year of our republic. Later we have had greater expansion of these fundamental right of freedom of speech in the PUCL case, where it expanded the right to speak with the right to know. This right to know enabled us to have the knowledge of our public representative, what they are doing, what cases are pending against them. There was also this right of Shreya Singhal versus Union of India case, under which section 66A which was a very vague act of IT Act 2000. It was struck down by Supreme Court because it was vague and it had a chilling effect on the free speech online. The Supreme Court widely restricted any sort of restriction on the fundamental right of speech and expression with the use of internet. And we are seemingly after 10 years we might be going in the same direction. Thus it makes a lot of sense to preserve this right, to cherish this right which we have gained after so much of struggle. Mahatma Gandhi, Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Bhagat Singh, they would be turning in their graves when their well cherished right of freedom of speech and expression is now being exploited by some people, and that has led into the question of the right itself. That should not be the case. We have this idea of innovation that comes when a free society allows freedom of speech and expression. While these people have misused their right of freedom of speech and expression, on the other hand, we have had people who are bringing very remarkable change in the society. Imagine a scenario when you would not be allowed to speak against the powers. Throughout our life we have heard that Bonvita was supposed to be a nutritional drink, and then comes a man who uses the power of internet to do the what is called as doodh ka doodh and pani ka pani in Hindi. He brought truth to light by suggesting that whole foods make for more nutrition rather than this processed article that includes some of the very famous nutritious drink. Then this person is food farmer. He has an Instagram channel, and then such people are inspiring innovation in the society. They are bringing a real change to the society, and this is the power of internet and the freedom of speech. Despite multiple cases of defamation against him, which he has actually fought and won, he has showcased that how this right to freedom of speech and expression can be a remarkable tool if used wisely. Thus, it is not required to be done away with these rights by having such a body which could have a chilling effect on the free speech, because there is also an aspect of economy here. We have this orange economy, which is nothing but a cultural or content generated economy. As per UNESCO estimate, around 3% of global GDP today is contributed by this economy of creative economy or orange economy. Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji went to the Wave Summit in Mumbai, and he launched a $1 billion program to promote this creator-based economy. We cannot afford to lose this economy when we have a crunch of jobs in our country. Then there are other cases of dissent versus authoritarianism. What if this body that serves to be, it may lead to curbing the dissent which is the safety valve of a democracy. It may lead to creation of an authoritarian state when any opinion contrary to the opinion of the government might be silenced. We cannot afford to have that, especially in this restive South Asia where we are the only island of democracy. Our beloved neighbor Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, they have all seen the fall of democracy. We are the only surviving democracy in this region, and we have this precisely because of a well-founded structure of constitution, well-founded institutions. We cannot afford to have a new institution with lack of autonomy. Ensuring autonomy in these testing time is also going to be a very difficult task. We have seen this issue of ensuring autonomy with various institutions of the state. For example, CEC. Despite Supreme Court's judgment, the CEC that has now come to be the appointment body of that, it has majority of the members are from the government. That impacts its autonomy. We have CBI, which has been called as a caged parrot. We cannot let that happen to the social media, which has been the harbinger of democracy across the world. Even if such a body comes to creation, there are questions and concerns regarding its effective functioning. It may add another layer of bureaucratic red tapeism that might slow down the speed with which a fair content is posted online. Whatever happened to the idea of minimum government, maximum governance, it would dilute that cause also. So what do we do? What is the way forward? We can take a multi-dimensional approach, taking not just an institutional step to curb this problem, but also various steps regarding various dimensions. We could take technological steps where Aadhaar based or PAN card based verification of age could be done. Before a video or a content is viewed by the viewer, it should be made mandatory to have their age verified by using this Aadhaar based technology. There might be some legal changes that could be made into the law to give it more teeth. For example, there could be an amendment to the Digital Media Ethics Code of 2021 that could more precisely define what could constitute as a objectionable content on the digital media. It may also create a valid deterrence not only among these digital media intermediaries but also against the users who create these content on digital media. This law should have a deterrent effect on the people. Then beyond, as Swami Vivekananda has also said, that the strength of a society does not lies in its law but lies in its morals. So even beyond the external locus of control, there is a need for developing an internal locus of control among individuals. We have to promote this value inculcation of tolerance. What if there is a hateful and insightful content on social media? It is up to us to develop the value of tolerance and not be judged by that. We have to practice this idea of digital detox. We do not become a mere cog in the digital media algorithms. We should promote conscious use of social media and not be influenced too much by it. Then there is also a need for a global step that could be taken. There is a convention of Santa Clara principles that are being developed in USA among various bodies which promote transparency and accountability among the algorithms that these digital media intermediaries use to take down the content. On what basis they are going to take down the content? They are supposed to highlight it very clearly in very clear enunciated terms. What it should ensure the transparency and accountability of these media houses. Then we develop prior consultation with multi-stakeholder bodies to ensure that any changes in the law, policy or institution that happens should happen with wider consensus, and it should not have negative effect on the freedom of speech and expression. Adopting this multi-pronged approach, we may seem to provide for a more safer and inclusive social media that is accessible to all. We suggest you practice this mains practice question and get it evaluated from your mentors. Moving to the next topic, we have why textile matters more than you think. This comes in the light of recent announcement of a new scheme by the government to promote research in the textile sector. We take a broad overview of the sector, discussing the issues and challenges in the textile sector with a lot of suggestions and way forward. Government has recently launched this Tex Ramp scheme, which is a scheme to promote textile focused research, assessment, monitoring, planning and startups in textile sector. Why is this important? It is indeed, but let's first discuss the first provision of this scheme. It is basically talking about 5 major prongs of these schemes, which is starting with the research and innovation. It is seeking to promote efficiency in the process of manufacturing of these textiles so that we have a lower cost of input per unit produced. That would enhance competitiveness of our textile production as well as exports. Then we have data analytics and diagnostic as one major pillar of this scheme that would promote evidence-based policy making for the sector. Then we have integrated textile statistical system. It should ensure that decision making is streamlined. It is made very strategically by way of this pillar of this new scheme. Then we have capacity development, which would ensure skill development of the people employed in the textile sector. They would not only be just doing their traditional craft, but also their skill upgradation would happen. They would also give up to the man-made fiber thing. Their expansion would happen and a lot of value addition in their skill would happen under this course of this scheme. We are also promoting innovation in the startup ecosystem. We are promoting entrepreneurial spirit as well as risk-taking capability among these textile manufacturers. However, this 305 crore rupees scheme allocated is not the major part of the textile sector. It is catering to one major aspect of research and the associated factors. But Indian government has a major focus on the textile sector that comes across various schemes, across budgets, across history. We have had textile sector as a major plank of our economy. Why do I say so? Starting from the history of India, we have had textiles as a major product of export even in Harappan civilization. This is an artifact from Mohenjo-daro which showcases the fabric being imprinted on a stone slab. This showcases that even 4500 years ago, Harappan civilization was called as Meluha in the records of Mesopotamia. This showcases our wide history going back of 4 millennials since we have been creating these textiles. Even in our freedom struggle, this Charkha by Mahatma Gandhi had been the symbol of self-reliance in India that promoted not only self-employment but also self-made consumption. Even in present times, the significance of textile sector cannot be more remarkable. It contributes around 2.3% of India's GDP today. And of all the industries that exist in India, 13% of the contribution of industries is given by this textile sector only, not just domestically. India's exports form a major chunk of this textile sector. 12% of all the goods export that India does are contributed by the textile sector. At least $37 billion worth of export we did in the year of 23-24. Not just in the number of rupees and billions, it is a major sector that employs second largest number of workforce in India after agriculture. And not just that, equity is a major plank of textile sector because it employs 80% of all the textile production that is done in India is done by MSME sector, and only 20% is done by the major industries. So that has made development a very inclusive idea. Even in MSME, majority of the contribution is done by women. That ensures that the vulnerable section of our society is taken fast forward along with this section. That is a precise reason that government has been emphasizing it so much, and it has been the talk of the town in all the discussions that we have had. Honorable Prime Minister Modi talks about it in his Mann Ki Baat. In the negotiation with USA, it is the textile sector that is highlighted, that is showcasing the past and the present significance of this textile sector. But not just this, if that was not enough, we have its significance in the future also. As per government estimate, it contributes around $175 billion worth industry as of now, but the government seeks to expand it to $350 billion, almost twice by the year 2030. That requires an average annual growth of more than 15%. There is a larger market of India in the textile sector. India has the 5th largest domestic market of textile, and in the export sector we rank 6th across the world. We have this position interchanging with Italy over the course of time. Last year it was in 5th, now we have slipped to 6th position on the export rankings. It is the major part of Make in India program. The whole idea of Make in India is functioning on the very high labor input industries, and textile make a major priority sector in that. And government has been cognizant of this. That is why we have taken a lot of steps regarding it. And not just from the government's perspective, it is also relevant from our previous year questions perspective of UPSC, that they have asked questions in an associated manner. UPSC has asked very tangential nature of questions. For example, they have asked about the agriculture commodities which are exported, and cotton textiles are also one of the commodity that comes from agriculture. They might ask the position of India in the export sector in the near future. They have asked about the jobs in India, where would the jobs that India need come from, and this being a major labor intensive sector, this could be one of the major part of this answer of previous year question. So we need to consider it very carefully. We first need to talk about, apart from the new scheme that we just discussed, there are other major schemes that the government has enforced. It is catering to the wide variety of sections of textile sector. First up, we have this production linked incentive scheme which covers 13 sector, and textile is one of them. Then we have this A-Tough scheme. It is majorly promoting the amended technology upgradation fund scheme, that is using funds for improvement of technology in the textile sector. We have a history and a legacy of textiles, and that is precisely the reason that we have had obsolete machines in our mills. So this scheme was brought in to enhance the technology in those historical mills. Then we have infrastructure creation under 2 schemes of PM Mitra as well as textile cluster development scheme. We have had 7 PM Mitra parks spread across the country, across different nations. Some of them are greenfield, some of them are also brownfield in nature. We have had also specialized sections of textile that are being covered now under textile mission, technical textile mission program. These are the major schemes that the government has taken for the improvement of the textile sector, but still the textile sector of India has some issues. These issues are persistent in nature because India is lagging behind the competitors. Despite India having one of the largest cotton production in the world, it is lagging behind competitors. We are lagging behind nations like Bangladesh, Vietnam, China. We are placed at 6th position in the global export despite being second in the terms of production. Overall, our cotton production has been on a declining trend. Even the yield has been declining. In the year 2013-14, we had 398 lakh bales of cotton being produced, that came down to 343 in the year 2022-23. Even the yield has been declining over the years. The fragmented cotton supply chain across the state also impact our productive capacity as well as competitiveness. While Gujarat and Maharashtra are the major cotton promoter of India, cotton producers of India, the textile industry is also located in the state of Tamil Nadu with Tirupur as the center. We have had these industries in Uttar Pradesh at Kanpur. There is a lot of distance that comes between the production center as well as the factories. We've had regulatory and trade barriers because nations like USA are not cutting the trade deal with India. They are leading to a lot of tariffs that are being imposed, and apart from tariff, we have had non-tariff barriers also. Various phytosanitary barriers are applied on the exports. Then the high raw material cost in man-made manufacturing sector of fiber. The fiber in India is now monopolized by few of the companies, and there are various quality control orders that restrict the import of man-made fibers, and this has declined the niche sector of technical textile in India. We have had problem of sustainability challenge in the textile sector because of promotion of idea of reusability, recyclability, as well as lack of fresh water availability for production of this new textiles. These concerns continue to plague the textile sector, which would have once been a sunshine sector of India's industry. However, some suggestions are required. Some way forward is suggested in this regard. We must promote the sustainable and circular economy by taking advantage of it. We must promote the recyclability of the man-made fiber. That would reduce the cost that we incur while importing the man-made fibers. Then there is need for greater policy negotiations. We need to have fast tracking of the FTAs that are pending with USA. We have just had concluded FTAs with Australia and UAE, and that is giving good yield in the short term. There is need for boosting the infrastructure with a transit oriented development in the infrastructure sector. That would make India's product very cost competitive. As of now, India spends around 14% of its GDP on the logistic cost, whereas developed nations spend only around 8%. This needs to be improved by investing greatly on the infrastructure sector. There is need for technological upgradation, for which we have just passed this new scheme of PM RAMPS, that is focusing on the research and development, promoting efficiency in the production process. The upskilling and branding part is also thing that needs major attention. We have had this idea of GI tag, which are now also UNESCO recognized. We have had this tradition of Jamdani sari, which is now being promoted in the foreign nations. This must be broad based. This must be taken to other aspect of our traditional crafts like Kanjivaram sari, Banarasi saris also. Overall, we have to take along with the idea of Prime Minister Modi, which focused on the 5 F's, which starts from farm, fiber, factory, fashion and foreign. If we take care of these 5 aspects of our technological sector, textile sector, we would be developing again India as the source hub for the global textile. That's about it. This is the mains practice question for you. Kindly practice it and submit it for evaluation to your mentors. Moving to the next topic, which is IMF gives C grade for India's national account statistics. Don't worry, it is not the C grade of Bollywood, it is the C grade of IMF, which actually categorizes the national accounts on the basis of 4 grades A, B, C and D. There has been various concerns that IMF has raised regarding the form in which data is collected in India, as well as some issues regarding the CPI data that India collects and publishes. So as per the review of IMF under the article 4 review that happens annually, they have reviewed the national account statistics of India and have given the rating C grade, which is nothing but the second lowest rate of grading. It has highlighted that although there are some positives, that data is available very frequently and there is also lot of granularity that allows comparison, but there are certain concerns that they have highlighted regarding the national statistics of India. once that it is outdated. The base year of 2011-2012 is used for GDP calculation. That means it is obsolete in some sense and newer trend are not highlighted there. Then there is a difficulty in comparison between income and expenditure method of calculation of GDP. There are also differences that arise due to use of various sources. There is a diversity of sources that are used for calculation of this data. Thus, use of this data, which has some methodological weaknesses, hampers surveillance, and thus it warrants the grade rating of C. However, what is more concerning is that they have also given a lower grading to the CPI data, and rightly so. We often see this news that CPI has hit its lowest level of 0.25% in the month of October. This was reported only 15 days back, and this showcased that as if inflation is not even rising, it is merely 0.25%, which is much lower than the 4 plus minus 2% as per MPC. This showcases some discrepancies that exist between the data and the actual reality. We have highlighted that the grade rating of B is given to the Consumer Price Index of India. It has some issues that even here the weights are very disproportionate. The base year that it used is 2011-2012. The data and the classification was also obsolete in nature because they are mentioning the use of kerosene. Who uses kerosene in this day and age where we have PM Ujjwala scheme which has expanded the coverage of this. So the weightage of this needs to change. We have had the component of CPI which include food, beverages, housing, clothing, footwear, fuel and light, miscellaneous. Under these components, the weightage of this have over the year changed. For example, in the food and beverage method, cereals form a major chunk, but with the change in the income of people, the idea of greater use of dairy products, greater use of nutritional meat product, they have risen. So there is need of updation of this criteria. Although the government is also thinking about changing the base year and changing some methodology in the calculation of CPI, but this IMF report has come in just in right time. We also need to discuss there are 4 types of CPI that exist in our country. It is not same for everyone. There are CPI for industrial worker, agriculture labor, also for rural labor. We have them for urban and rural areas. This CPI combined is widely used in the official retail inflation. It is the only thing that is targeted by MPC. It is actually calculated by CPI commodity basket at present prices, CPI at fixed prices into 100. That is the formula with which they calculate the consumer price index. Moving to the next topic, we have Assam cabinet approves panel report to grant ST status to 6 communities. Recently, the Assam cabinet minister has just approved a report of government of group of ministers who seek to give ST status to 6 tribes like Moran, Matak, Koch, Rajbangshi and these tribes. They have sought ST status from the government of Assam. The Assam cabinet has given their approval, but does that make them, these communities, a part of ST list? It doesn't. There is a way long process that goes behind granting of this ST status, and that is what we will discuss from the prelims perspective. First, what the constitution says. Actually, the constitution under article 366 and under the 366 clause 25, they define what do we mean by scheduled tribe. And even there they don't really define it, and they just say that scheduled tribe means such tribe which has been deemed as scheduled tribe under article 342. Then what does article 342 means? It means scheduled tribe may be such tribe which president may by notification notify. It is not just the president who does that, because it is the authority of the parliament who may by law include or exclude from the list of STs that who should be given the status of STs. Thus, there is a very complex process, a very formalized method of giving of ST status. The buck starts from the state government. It is the state government who begins this process of ST status. They create some research and they create some consensus is developed within the state. They pass this file to the Ministry of Tribal Affairs. Then this is going to the Tribal Affairs Ministry, to the Home Ministry, because this office of Registrar General of India is an office under Ministry of Home Affairs who reviews this and then evaluates using various criteria like culture, isolation, backwardness, etc. These were given by the Lokur committee, which identified these criteria for inclusion into the ST list. This was committee formed in the year 1965. Then the National Commission for Scheduled Tribe, which is a constitutional body under Article 338A. Its opinion is also sought on the issue, and combining this opinion of NCST, this RGI, as well as Ministry of Tribal Affairs, all of them then gives consent or their recommendations to the cabinet, who then lays down a bill in both the houses of parliament, which then passes the amendment to inclusion of this ST order 1950. Once that is done by both the houses of parliament, the bill then goes to the president, who signs it and issues the final notification in the Gazette of India, and thus one becomes a part of ST. However, keep in mind that ST listed state specific only. One tribe which is classified as a scheduled tribe in one state may not be a scheduled tribe in another state, and then only the parliament can modify it, not the state government. Right? But then why are we seeking, why these tribes are seeking the ST status? What are the benefits of it? There are multiple benefits. Constitutionally, under Article 15, we have given educational reservation to the scheduled tribe. There is also reservation in the job scenario under Article 16. There are also greater safeguards that are made available once one is a part of a scheduled tribe. For example, the provision of SC/ST Act, Prevention of Atrocities Act 1988, it also seeks to apply to them. Thus, it is a very coveted thing, a coveted state that seeks to undo the injustice of history, that seeks to provide them a very level playing field in terms of public employment, in terms of education and other opportunities, so that there is a equity in the society. And thus, when parliament passes and the president finally issues an order, a ST status is granted to some community, which was just a few days back was given to some communities of Tamil Nadu. Moving to the next topic, we have controversial remarks, MP government show cause notice to IAS officer. Few days back, one of the IAS officer of Madhya Pradesh cadre made some controversial remark against some community on the basis of caste, and now the ministry, the Madhya Pradesh government has even issued a showcase notice to him that why proceedings under this Act of All India Services Rule 1969 should not be initiated against him, because he has violated what is called as the All India Services Rule 1968. From our prelims perspective, we'll discuss what does the constitution says for the regulation of conduct of civil servants. Part 14 of our constitution describes the provisions relating to the civil services. Under Article 309, the recruitment and service condition of the civil servant is listed. It shows that legislature can pass a law to regulate the service and conduct of these civil servant, and then president can issue some rules under which until the laws are made. And this All India Service Conduct Rule 1968 are one of the creation of rules under this act made by Parliament, which is called as the All India Service Act 1951. Now this was the legal background of it, but what exactly do the conduct rules say? It says that every member of civil services shall maintain absolute integrity and devotion to duty. And this is precisely the thing that this person seems to have violated, because the case mentions, the show cause notice has said that you have violated section 3132B and 3132B and 312 of the All India Service Conduct Rule says. Basically, it asks the civil servants to uphold a high ethical standard, to ensure courtesy and good behavior with the public. You are not supposed to slap people who do not follow the orders. Then it also asks the civil servants to uphold the sovereignty, unity and integrity of India, to ensure that public order, decency and morality is also promoted. So, a civil servant must always avoid using casteist slur or any abusive language in public. Then they must be guided solely by the decision which uphold the public resources efficiency and not for vested interest. These are things that are inherently understood, but they were supposed to be enunciated clearly in the rules, and in the pursuance of that, these rules have been framed. But beyond these rules, the Constitution Article 310 also talk about doctrine of pleasure regarding the service of a civil servant. If the civil servant serves at the pleasure of the president, and if any inquiry is initiated against him, eventually he might even be relieved of his services. There is also a safeguard that there must be no dismissal without inquiry. However, it comes with an exception that in case this inquiry is prejudicial to the sovereignty, unity and integrity of the nation, it may not even be done, as was case with some Jammu and Kashmir civil servants. The inquiry was not done in those cases because it was deemed to be prejudicial to the sovereignty, unity and integrity of the nation. So becoming an IAS officer does not give you the liberty to say whatever you feel like. You have to abide by this constitutional article as well as the All India Service Conduct Rule. These are not static things, they have often been amended over the time period. For example, earlier under the rule 5 of this conduct rule, it was not allowed for the civil servant to join any political authority or political body, and RSS as a body was specifically mentioned under it, that one as a civil servant cannot join that. But after recent amendment, it has now been allowed, because that RSS as a body has been removed from the list of the prohibited body which a civil servant could join. So over the time period, the civil services conduct rule have been changing, but as things stand, one must be abiding by them even before one becomes a civil servant. Moving to the next topic, we have PM Modi inaugurates Skyroot's first orbital rocket. Skyroot is one of the leading space sector private company in the space sector of India, which is a remarkable change in the India space sector, which is now promoting a privatization of the space companies. We have had our ISRO, which is the research body, but government has now functioned two new bodies. These two new bodies have been formulated for various separate tasks. On the first, we have New Space India, which is actually a public sector undertaking, which is seeking to collaborate with these private sector entities to promote production, assembly and integrating the launch vehicles, for which mastery has been attained by ISRO. For example, our PSLV has been a very successful, very efficient and reliable launch vehicle. Then we have had this InSpace, which is basically a regulatory body for the private sector. Any private entity, whenever seeking to use the space resources, space technology, they must seek approval from this InSpace, which acts as a single window agency that supervises the space activities of these non-government organizations. In this background, we have the Skyroot Aerospace, which was founded by two former ISRO scientists, Pawan Chandana and Bharat Dhaka. PM Modi has recently highlighted their entrepreneurial spirit and how it is leading India to the space economy frontiers. It is most famous for its Vikram S suborbital rocket that was launched in the year 2022. Right now, they have launched a new orbital rocket called as Vikram 1, which would be taking satellite directly to the orbits. Now, moving forward, we need to discuss the sector's significance for India's economy. As per recent reports, it contributed around $24 billion to India's GDP over the last decade. And as per government's estimate, 2% of the global space market is captured by India's space agencies. However, there are plans to expand it fourfold in the coming years by 2030. And the goal is to make it reach 8% of the global space market share should be taken by Indian companies. It has a very high return to investment ratio. For every $1 that is spent on the research of space, $2.5 have been accrued to Indian economy. That makes it a very promising avenue for return on investment. India is currently the 8th largest economy in the world, and our $13 billion has been invested in the last decade. These numbers are not just figures but also showcase a new beginning for India's expanding feats in the global space sector. Moving to the last topic, on Martial surface, a slice of Kerala. What do you think is common to Periyar, Varkala Beach, Thumba and Bekal? Apart from the fact that they are all located in Kerala, it is a fact that they are now the names of geological features not on Earth but on millions of kilometers away on Mars. Yes, 7 places of Martian craters have now been named on the basis of names in Kerala. These places include Varkala, these places include Periyar, and even the name of M.S. Krishnan, who was the first Director General of the Geological Survey of India, first Indian Director General of Geological Survey of India. This is bringing to highlight the issue of International Astronomical Union, which is an international body. But for our prelims perspective, we need to remember some facts. First thing first, it is not a body which is a member of United Nations. It is not an agency of United Nations. It is an international NGO, a non-governmental organization, who has the primary task of governing international professional astronomical activities. It was founded in 1919 during the World War I. It has the idea of promoting and safeguarding the science of astronomy in all its aspects, and it promotes research, communication and other things. The first idea that it promotes is of discussion of educational activity related to astronomy. It also showcases the dissemination of new discoveries related to astronomy. Another major part of its function include definition of fundamental astronomies. It is the sole body that is recognized to ensure the nomenclature of astronomical discoveries, and in this exercise of its power it has now named 7 geological craters on Mars from the names taken from Kerala. It does that on the basis of some historical significance, some cultural significance. The governing body of International Astronomical Union is a General Assembly which holds its meeting every 3 years. It has a membership of nations also. Around 85 nations are members of this International Astronomical Union, as well as there are 12,700 members individual that are part of it. For remembering for our prelims perspective, we have to remember the headquarter of this organization lies at Paris, France. This was it in this discussion of Analyst dated 28 November 2025. Thank you so much. Best of luck.